This is the Moving Beyond You channel where we talk about everything when it comes to you breaking free from toxic narcissistic relationships and establishing healthy connections and relationships with yourself and other people. And we are diving deep into what the number one people that narcissists tend to choose, which are the people pleasers. And so I wanted to really dive into the people pleasing trap. And if you are on my page, welcome the Intentionally Thriving community, because each week we talk about different things when it comes to narcissism and getting out of those types of situations, because I don't want anyone having to go through any type of emotional or verbal abuse. My mission is to be able to help impact thousands of women and men to break free of these toxic relationships so we can have healthy relationships with each other. If you're new here, I'm Samantha, a trauma and toxic relationship recovery therapist and coach, helping you to break free from toxic narcissistic relationships. Now, this people pleasing trap, many of us really dive into, especially when it comes to professional, my Black and brown men and women. We definitely do this because just kind of how things are within society and how we grow up, where we feel like we have to constantly please and do things for other people. If you ever felt drained or feel like being diminished because you're always putting people first, this video is for you. I want to do a quick poll for everyone watching. Can you please give me that hand emoji if you are the type of person that feels like you were always constantly putting people first? Or if you always said yes to something, then later wondered, why did I even agree to that? I know I've been there more than I can even count. And so I realized is when I had my boundaries in place and how it stopped all that. But let's kind of dive into the people pleasing trap first. So first, like, why do we even fall into this trap in the first place? Well, for one, especially with Black and brown women and men, we have the societal expectation to be able to be serving and giving and constantly nurturing towards other people. And societal expectations, which should be accommodating and nurturing and submissive. And I'm not saying submissive is a bad thing. That's a whole nother topic if you want more into that. But what I'm saying is that we have been in this place is that, especially how we grew up, right? If you said something that your parent did not agree with, that was considered disrespectful. That was not considered you having your boundary, you not wanting to do it. It was the fact that you said something that they didn't like, and that was disrespectful. We kind of grew up as being parent pleasers, we end up being people pleasers towards other people. Even with the grading system, even how, you know, how things are with schools, it's constantly like you have to give this an A for you to get this. Makes you feel overall we're raised to believe that saying no is considered rude or selfish. And so this is why we do that. With number two, we are going to be diving deep into the next reason why we have people pleasing trap is because of fear of rejection. And how many times are we just constantly worried or doing things for people, especially in our relationships, where we feel as though if we don't do what they say, that they're going to leave or not like us, and then we feel like we'll end up being alone. A lot of times we go to the real extreme. I'll be alone forever, or different sayings that make you feel like if you don't do what somebody says, then you will be alone. But I want you to think about that. The fact that you have to be in a relationship where you have to do exactly what somebody says for you to be able to feel like you're in this relationship. That is not you at all. That's being someone that is being a different version of yourself that is not really you. So definitely when you talk about fear of rejection, I'd rather you reject me and me be fully who I am, versus rejecting me of a version that you created for me to be. And lastly, when it comes to this people pleasing trap, the last one is a low self esteem. If you have low self esteem, you're going to want validation from somebody else to feel good or to make it feel like you're worth the relationship or whatever it is for you. And when you're looking for external validation, you're going to do whatever you can and people please however you can, do whatever they say for you to be in a space where you're feeling validation from them. And a lot of times, especially in those narcissistic relationships, validation comes at a cost, right? You might be able to get that you look nice, but then you might be hit with something else later on. It's this constant cycle that happens when it comes to those types of relationships. If you don't know, I am doing a take up space challenge in August 30th through September 1st, where we're going to really dive deep into the boundaries and really tackle it on and seeing if be able to you being able to do one, be able to do the challenge, but also two, being able to really tap in and have a community and work together as well if you want to go that way. But the challenge is free. You're going to get this information for you to be able to start taking the steps into your own hands and creating those boundaries for yourself. When I tell you breaking free from this trap, this people pleasing trap, isn't about being selfish or rude, because it's really hard to be selfish or rude when you're a people pleaser. Because naturally you want to be able to give and you're very nurturing, right? So it's really hard to do that. But I want to just kind of leave you with three things to be able to kind of help you through this process. And number one, I need you to understand your worth. You do not have to earn love, have to work hard to get it. You are worthy just because you're here. You're worthy. So understand that you do not have to earn this from somebody by being a people pleaser or feeling like you have to do all these things for other people. And I get it when people, my clients come to me and like, but the guilt or feel like I'm being mean. And I want you to understand that how you're viewing people pleasing, right? And it leads me to number two when it comes to setting your boundaries. Like, you are allowing yourself to protect your peace so you can fully be there for everyone else. And I know you hear constantly people say that about take care of you to be there for other people, but it is true. If you notice, if you allow yourself to do something for yourself, that you can be able to sit there and be present, whether with your kids or in your relationships, or having those healthy relationships around you, if you allow yourself to be there for you. And lastly, if you have not seen my last video on assertive communication, make sure you check that out, because assertive communication is going to be key when it comes to people pleasing. Because if you do not want to do something, I want you to be able to assertively communicate on how to be able to tell somebody that. And I do have tips on just my website as well, movingbeyoundyou.org, that's really going to dive deep into that, and having a sheet where you can be able to have it. I think I have it. I'll make sure to try to see if I can link it down below so you guys can have it as well. But understand that there are ways where you can be able to say no and not feel like you're being rude, right? When I come to people pleasing, former people pleaser myself, I understand the feeling of just feel like you're trying to be rude. So I get it. But assertive communication allows you to express your needs and your desires openly and expressively in a respectful way, where you still feel like you're yourself in the process and not feel like you're being aggressive, which you talked about in my last video. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Share a time where you felt caught in the people pleasing trap, and make sure to share with your friends, make sure to subscribe so you can see my videos every Wednesday, and we can really dive more deep into this topic. And if you are someone who's out of this situation, let us know on what you did to kind of get out of people pleasing, so we can really be as a community together. Thank you so much for enjoying today's session. Make sure to prioritize yourself, subscribe, and I cannot wait to see you next Wednesday. And we'll talk about more about this discussion and talk about something else. If you need any other topic, let me know below.